Good morning, students. Good morning to all. And last day we have studied about the economic thoughts, some of the economic thinkers. And in these economic thinkers, last day we have studied about the economic thoughts of world war. So today just we will go to study about the economic thoughts of Gandhijis and others economic thinkers. Today we will study about the economic contributions of Mahatma Gandhi thoughts. So Gandhian economics is based on the ethical foundations. The Gandhiji is always taken some of the economics ideas on the basis of ethical foundations in 1921. In 1921, Gandhi wrote economics that hurts the moral well-being of an individual or a nation is immoral and therefore sinful. So Gandhiji is always taken some of the give the more importance to being the moral and ethics. So again in 1924 he repeated the same belief the economy is untrue which ignores or disregards the moral values. And some of the salient features of Gandhian economic thoughts. So what are the features are there in Gandhian economic thoughts mean? First, on the basis of some headings, his economic thoughts may be propounded. First, the village republic. According to Gandhi, India lives in village. He was interested in developing the villages as self-sufficient units. So Gandhiji always believed that India lives in the villages only, not in the rural and other areas. And always he was interested in developing the villages as a self-sufficient units, because if all the villages are get the self-sufficient units, there is no need to importing the foods from the other nations, and that rural people also can easily increasing the supply of foods. So he thought and he has more important to the developing of the villages side only. And not only that, he opposed the extensive use of machineries, urbanization and industrialization. Why he opposed the extensive use of machineries means the machineries always will reducing the employment opportunity of the humans, and the productivity power of the humans also will be reduced when we are using the more machineries. And the urbanizations, because over urbanizations also bring some of the poverty in these urban areas, and the employment opportunity also will be reduced in this rural side, and the rural people will never leave the agricultural also. Next, on the machinery side, so Gandhi described machinery as a great sin. Why he has told like that mean? As I told already, if you are using the machineries, over use of the machineries in these agricultural sectors, and not only the agricultural sectors, in the even in the industrial sectors, if you are using the more machineries, the employment opportunity will be reduced abundantly. So many of the peoples will be in the unemployment situations. Because of that, the poverty will be arised. If the poverty situation arised, so the poverty only created all type of the sins. So he said that books would be written to demonstrate its evils. It is necessary to realize that machinery is bad. He also told we have to write more books, that is the machinery, the sins or the evils of the machineries. So instead of welcoming machineries as a boon, we should look upon it as an evil. It would ultimately cease. So in the same time, what are the advantages are arised when we are using the machineries? Same time, we have to thinking about the evils and the bads and the critical situations of the usage of machineries also. Next, industrialism. So Gandhi considered industrialism as a curse on mankind, because when we are using the manpower to produce any of the commodities or in the production unit, we will have some of the good human behavior. Otherwise, when we are using When you are using the more industrialism, the agricultural also will be get down. He thought industrialism depended entirely on a country's capacity to exploit. But there is no exploitation situations in this agricultural sector. But in this industrialism always will be exploiting the country's capacities. Next, decentralizations. The Gandhijis also advocated a decentralized economy. That is, the production at a large number of places and a small scale and productions in the people's homes. The productions have to be large number of places on a small scale and the production in the people's home also. So all the people's the production units in this home means the cottage industries. So all the peoples are doing in this cottage industries. It will be useful to increasing the employment opportunity and the self-sufficiency also. So only he has advocated to the decentralization of the economy. Next, village Sarvodaya. So according to the Gandhi, the real India was to be found in the village and not in the towns or cities. So he suggested the development of self-sufficient, self-dependent villages. Self-sufficient villages means the village peoples will never depending on the urbanized area for their basic necessities. And the self-dependent villages means the same only. So all the peoples have to depending on the should not depending on the others even in the villages peoples. All the peoples living in the villages have to be get the self-sufficient. That is the meaning of well self-sufficient villages. Next, bread labor. So Gandhiji realized the dignity of human labor. So he believed that God created the man to eat his bread by the sweat of his brow. So according to the Gandhijis, all the peoples have to do some of the work by spreading the sweater. If he want to eat some of the food, he must earn the sweat. So bread labor or body labor was the expressions that Gandhiji used to mean manual labor. The labor, those who are earning the money by the way of sweating, he is the only man labor, human labor. Next, the doctrine of trusteeship. So the trusteeship provides a means of transforming the present capitalist order of society into a egalitarian one. It gives no quarter to capitalism. However, now India experiences both casino capitalism and crony capitalism. Next, on the food problem. So Gandhiji was against any sort of food controls. If you are bringing some of the controls to produce in the food, it will be creating the poverty. He thought such controls only created artificial scarcity also. If you are bringing some of the controls in the supply of food, the producers of food can have the possible to bringing the or making the artificial demand. So if there is no demand, the producers and some of the wholesaler will creating the artificial demand. So once India was begging for food grains, but India tops the world with a very large production of food grains, fruits, vegetables, milks, etc., meat, etc. So India was the begging for the food grains, but now not like that. By providing the more facilities and grants by the government, we have the self-sufficient to producing the more food grains, and we can have able to export the food on other nations also. Next, on the populations. So Gandhijian thoughts of the populations. Gandhiji opposed the method of population control through contraceptives. He was, however, in favor of birth control through brahmacharya or self-control. So all the peoples have to take some of the effort to controlling the populations. but he opposed the method of population control through the contraceptives in either the artificial way. So instead of the artificial way, he was advocated to brahmacharya and self-controls. He considered self-control as a sovereign remedy to the problem of overpopulation. If we have the self-control, so we can control the populations. Next on prohibitions. So Gandhiji advocated 10% prohibitions. He regarded the use of liquor as a disease rather than the vice. So some of the product must be prohibited. Among this product, the alcohol is most important one. We must prohibited the productions and usage of the alcohols. But nowadays, all the state governments are earning the revenue from the liquor sales only. So it is not possible to prohibit in some of the states. Okay, student. Next, the economic thoughts of Jawaharlal Nehru. How the Jawaharlal Nehru contribute their economic thoughts to improving the economic development. So Jawaharlal Nehru is one of the chief builders of modern India. He was the first Prime Minister of the independent India and he was there in the post till his death in 1964. So the contributions of economic thoughts of Ambedkar is classified under three headings. First one is democracy and secularism. The Jawaharlal Nehru was a firm believer in democracy. He was believed in the democracy. He believed in free speech, civil liberty, adult franchise, and the rule of law and parliamentary democracies. When we have this all and all only, we will have the good economic development. And the secularism is another signal contribution of Nehru to India in our. So in our country, there are many religions: Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism, and so on. But there is no domination by religious majority. The secularism means equal respect for all the religions. Even if the majority of the peoples are living in our nations, so our nations are considered as a secularism nations. Next, planning. So Jawaharlal Nehru was responsible for the introduction of planning in our country. To Jawaharlal Nehru, the plan was essentially an integrated approach for development. So if we want to improve and if we want to bring the growth of economic development, we must have the planning. So without having the planning, we will never achieve any of the development. So initiating the debate on the second plan in the Lok Sabha in May 1956, Nehru spoke on the theme of planning. So after that, only the planning or arranging the planning system is strongly founded. So according to the Nehru, carried through this basic strategy of planned development. The Nehru's contributions to the advancement of science, research, technology, and industrial development cannot be forgotten. Because after the planning, or according to the Jawaharlal Nehru's planning only, the science, technology, and industrial development has been increased, prescribed. He always insisted on the scientific temper. Next, democratic socialism. The socialism is another contribution of Nehru to India. He put the country on the road towards a socialistic pattern of society. But Nehru socialism is democratic socialism. Next, the economic thoughts of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So you all are knows very well about the economic thoughts or Dr. Ambedkar. Dr. Ambedkar was a versatile personality. Versatile personality means he has brightening in many departments, many areas. He was the architect of the Indian constitutions. You may have studied in your lower classes. A custodian of social justice and a champion of socialism and state planning. The Ambedkar's writings included ancient Indian commerce, a historical and analytical study. His thesis was published as the evolution of provincial finance in British India. The main economic ideas of Dr. Ambedkar may be studied under the four broad headings. First one is financial economics. So much of the work done by Mr. Ambedkar during his stay abroad, mostly during the period of 1913 to 1923. He was in the field of finance economics. So Ambedkar divided the evolution of provincial finance into three stages. First one is budget by assignment. Next, budget by assigned revenue, and the budget by shared revenue. So under these three categories, he was given the more importance to the financial economics. Financial economics means so fiscal economics. The one of the nations have to bring some of the innovations and have to bring some of the policies on the finance of the government is very much important. Next, agricultural economics. In 1918, Ambedkar published a paper, Small Holding in India and Their Remedies. Citing Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, he made a fine distinction between consolidation of holdings and enlargement of holdings. So, if you want to improve the agricultural economics, we must consolidations of all the holding lands. So, if you have the broken land or the small piece of land by all the agriculturist people or the farmers, it is not able to bringing the more cultivations. So instead of having the isolated hold, if you are consolidations of all the land, we must bring more cultivate or more yeah, and enlargement of holdings. Next, economics of caste. So Ambedkar believed that caste was an obstacle to social mobility. Caste was an obstacle to social mobility because even if you have the ratio of religions, it is not bring most of the problems. But if you have the ratio of caste, it will be creating the many problems. So it resulted in social stratifications. So he was of the firm view that the individual must be free to change their occupations. So all the peoples also have to being as a individuals as their occupations. Moreover, the caste system caused social tensions. Caste system always bringing the many problems in the societies and the social tensions. Even from the authority persons to all the educationalist persons and the professionals also have to get some of the tensions by using the caste systems. The caste system has resulted in the absence of social democracy in India as distinct from the political democracy. So when we are comparing the political problem, the caste problem also will bring more problems. Next, economic thoughts of VKRV Rao. VKRV Rao is also one of the economists, and he also provided many ideas and contributions to economic development. So VK Rao was deeply interested in three large items. What are the large items means? The national income and food, nutrition and the distribution of good. Next, the employment occupational distributions. So why he has given the more interested to these events mean? The national income only is the measurable of one of the nation's growth and development. Otherwise, next one, food, nutrition and the distribution of goods. So all the peoples in the societies have to get more food or the substance level of the food, and the food also have to be as a nutritional one, and the distribution of good, all the peoples and the societies have to good all type of the goods. Next, employment and occupational distributions. If there is less employment opportunity in one side and the low and the high employment opportunity in the another one of the regions means the regional disparities will arise. So these three things are very much important one. If a nations are having the self-sufficiency in these three things, the nations will considered as a developing or developed nations. He has also under some of the headings he provided the economic thoughts. First, the national income methodology. As an applied economist, Rao's name is remembered for his pioneering work on the enumeration of national income of India. By providing the enumeration of national income, so the Rao's name is remembered. The Rao was people of James M. Keynes. The Rao was the student of J. M. Keynes and he worked with Colin Clark. And not only that, H.W. Singer, he is also one of the economists. He is considered V.K.R.V. Rao as the best equipped of all Keynes peoples. The Rao's paper on full employment and economic development was one of the earliest contributions in the field of development towards employment. The economic development and full employment idea is the major part of the contributions to the development of the employments. Next, international food aid. The Ra was influential in creating the ideas and shaping the policy in the international attack on world poverty. So not only through his contributions to the questions of international aid and improved flows of external resources, but also through his activities in the field of food aid. So he is also considered the food aid. The food aid is also one of the important tools in the external affairs. Next is support for socialism. So during the early basis of planning in India, Rao supported the case of the socialist India, where the state would control the commanding heights of the economy and the public sector would play a dominant role in the economic development. So socialism is one of the important economic system to all the nations. But when the public sector would play the dominant role in economic development, he is also controlling the command. He also support the socialism. Next, Rao's views on industrializations. How the Raos was approaches the industrializations. Some of the reasons for low per capita income and low level of per capita nutrition in India is so Rao gave some of the reasons to low per capita income and low level of the per capita nutrition. So the uneconomic holdings with the subdivisions and fragmentations. So the subdivisions and the fragmentations, the holding of land, all the lands must be holding as consolidated. If the land is fragmentations, we will hit the low per capita and the low per capita nutrition and low levels of water availability for crops. When we have the sufficient level of the water facilities for the crops will never yield prosperities. So it will be give the low levels of per capita income from the agricultural field. Next, excess population pressures on the agricultural due to the absence of large industrial sectors. So if there is more industrial sectors are there in our nations, so all the peoples will want to going to the industrial field only, and there is no peoples will have the interest to involving these agricultural sectors. So if the situation is being like that, so the population pressures always will be increasing on the agricultural, and in the same time, so if there is no industrial sectors, most of the increased populations will come to the agricultural only. So the productivity of the farmers also will be low. So we will not improve the capital income, per capita income. Next, absence of capital. If you want to increasing the productivity of the industrial sector or the agricultural sector, we must being in the need of some of the sufficient level of capital. If the absence of capitals are there, we will never improve. Next, absence of autonomy in currency policies and in general in monetary matters encouraging the holding of gold. So the absence of monetary autonomy currency policies means some of the monetary policies also will not be sufficient. And the institutions builder. The V.K. R. Rao also founded three national level research institutes, namely Delhi School of Economics and Institute of Economic Growth and Institute for Social and Economic Change. So the first two organizations, the Delhi School of Economics and Institute of Economic Growth, also situated in the Delhi, and the last one, the Institute for Social and Economic Change, is located at the Bangalore. Okay students, then today we have studied about the economic thoughts of Mr. Ambedkar and Gandhiji's and the V.K.R.V. Rao. If you have any doubt, please ask me, and just to take the economic thoughts of V.K.R.V. Rao as your study portions. Thank you.